To begin our radial project, you're going to need these items. First of all, a 12 by 12 piece of white sulfite paper. Be sure it's the 60 pound. You're going to need a compass, one like this. You'll also need a protractor. You're going to need a sharp pencil, one of the long 18-inch metal rulers. These are found over on the white supply shelf. And finally, you're going to need a short piece of tape. And once you have those items, you're ready to begin. The first thing we're going to need to do is to find the center of our paper. Now, that 12 by 12 piece of paper that we're going to be working on is far too large to show you on this camera. And so I'm just going to use a small 5-inch square to show you and the method for finding the center, and then we'll do it together on the large piece of paper. So I call this the X method, and basically all you do is just lay your ruler from corner to corner diagonally and draw a whisper line, a very light line, where you think the other line would be drawn and where it would cross if you were making an X. And so I'm going to draw this right here because I think that if I were to draw a line from here to here, it would cross right about there. So I've drawn that line. Now I'm going to lay my ruler diagonally the other direction, and sure enough, when I draw one more time, you can see that they've crossed right there in the center. So what I'll do is place a tiny dot right there in the middle and erase the rest of the X because I don't need the X anymore. All I need to know is where the center is. So now let's take our large piece of paper. This is the 12 by 12 square that we're going to be working on. And I know you can't see it, but I'm going to lay my ruler from the upper left to the bottom right and draw right where I think the other part of the X would cross. And then I'll lay my ruler the opposite direction, being very careful to keep it corner to corner. And once I've got it placed, I'm going to go ahead and draw. And there is the center of this piece of paper. I'm going to put a tiny dot right there in the center and then erase the rest of the X because, as I said, we aren't going to need the X. We only need to know where the center is. Now we can go ahead and begin drawing our circle. We're first going to draw a 7-inch circle now, and as you know, when we draw with a compass, we set the compass half the size of the circle that we're going to be drawing. So I said that we wanted a 7-inch circle, so I'm going to set this compass at 3.5 inches. Now notice that there are inches on one side, there are centimeters on the other side, and you'll also notice that the numbers count to the left rather than to the right like we're used to on a number line. So 3.5, 1, 2, 3, and there's halfway between 3 and 4. So I'm going to set the point of the red slide right at 3.5, and then that piece of tape that you need is what's going to hold that slide in place. I've got this little short piece of tape. I'm going to flip this over, put the tape across the center of the red slide, and that will keep the slide from moving around as I'm drawing my circle. I'm going to fold this over just a little bit so I have a little tabby. You don't need to wrap the tape around the compass, you just need to place it on the bottom. So now that this is set at 3.5 and I have the slide taped, I'm going to go ahead and place the bullseye of the compass right over the center of my paper, hold it in place there with my finger, and I'm going to now draw my circle, making sure that my pencil is straight up and down and not leaning. I'm just going to swing this around. Of course, when I get to my hand, I'm going to have to raise my hand and go underneath to draw the rest of the circle. And now the circle is drawn.